All right, thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the front page of the Blueprint. NNPP's soul at stake. Kwankwaso suspended, Boniface expelled. NNPC's soul at stake. Kwankwaso suspended, Boniface expelled. You find all the details on the front page of the Blueprint. We'll move now to this Nigeria newspaper. Anti-party NNPP hits Kwankwaso with 6 months suspension. Accuses him and others of hobnobbing with Tinubu, Obi, and Atiku. They are jokers. Ex-Kano governor's camp fires back. All the details on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. To the front page of the Nigerian News Direct, still talking about the NNPP crisis. It says the crisis deepens as party suspends Kwankwaso, who was the presidential flag bearer of the party, over romance with Tinubu, Obi, Atiku. Details on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To Nature News now. Federal government moves to avert flood disaster in states, local government areas. Federal government moves to avert flood disaster in states, local government areas. Details on the front page of the Nature News. And to the front page of the Daily Trust. Despite flood alert, states yet to evacuate citizens. Despite flood alert, states yet to evacuate citizens. All right, all the details on the front page of the Daily Trust. Ibrahim.
Well, the Punch newspaper is the first that I have with me here. It says, few queues hit Lagos, others as thieves vandalize pipelines. Marketers halt petrol loading, blame vandals for disruption. Few queues hit Lagos, others as thieves vandalize pipelines. The Nation newspaper is next. Subsidy cut windfall. Government saves 1.83 trillion naira in 2 months. Savings to be used for projects. No more borrowing. And Tony Nimelu saying government's bold decisions in Nigerians' interest. That's the Nation newspaper saying that government saves 1.83 trillion naira in 2 months. That's according to the Nation newspaper. Business Day is next. Corporate tax slumps in blow to non-oil revenue drive. Corporate tax slumps in blow to non-oil revenue drive. That's the Business Day newspaper. First News is next. Alleged multi-million naira fraud. How URDBA Assistant Director enriches self through IPPIS. As Workers' Petition Ministry accuse him of using internal syndicates to defraud staff. How you alleged multi-million naira fraud, how URDBA Assistant Director enriches self through IPIS. The Daily Times is next. Akwa Ibom shots Chinese firm making billions from illegal mining. Akwa Ibom shots Chinese firm making billions from illegal mining. Now, it's the Daily Times. Leadership newspaper is last but not least here. Bitter tales about exploitation of children as maids persists. Bitter tales about exploitation of children as maids persists. That's the Leadership newspaper. Veronica.
And that is the story we'll be looking at this morning. If you look at the front page of the Leadership, there is an infographics of how these underage children are being exploited because, according to the paper, their data miners department showed or found out that there has been a surge in the inclination towards employing underage children as domestic staff. Let me just look through the infographics here. It says 15 million children are engaged in child labor in Nigeria. International Labour Organization is saying that, and that according to NAPTIP Act of 2015, it is an offense to employ, require, recruit, transport, harbor, receive, or hire out a child under the age of 12 years as a domestic worker. But then we've seen a rise in that, and it says 80% A girl child is 80% more likely to be assaulted and sold into child labor than a boy child. Now, consequences of employing underage children as house helps: education deprivation, physical and emotional exploitation, health risks, stunted growth or stunted development. A really sad statistics there. And we have recorded in recent times the level of maltreatment some of these underage children have had to suffer in the hands of their employers. Now, I was opportune to be part of a training some time ago where we're looking into this matter of recruiting persons as domestic staff. You know, oftentimes these persons who recruit them go to their families and promise them everything, maybe because their families are poor and are looking for how to better the lot of their children. So their recruiters go to them, telling them, go to their parents, telling them that, okay, we will send your children to school, we'll do this, we'll pay us this kind of amount, we'll ensure we nurture her to grow. But at the end of the day, that's not what happens. The moment they are able to ship these children to the location they want them, that's the end. Sometimes they even cut off communication with the families of these children. They don't pay them, they don't take good care of them. You just see that the children are in a very sorry state, unfortunately. It's a sad one, and at the heart of this is poverty.
Right, so it's actually a growing trend, and it's been there, you know, for ages. Just like you said, they go to rural areas, promise heaven and earth to the parents, and they'll also be looking for, the parents will also be looking for to, okay, if I'm deprived of certain things, my children should not be deprived. So going to places like the urban areas like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and places that are developed where they will be used as domestic, you know, workers, they probably would be, they will strike it, you know, rich, you know, by virtue of, you know, mixing up in the metropolis. But most of the people who perpetrate this, you know, it's a crime. They go with all of those promises. They have something bad in mind. They have, you know, bad intentions, you know, for doing all of these things. Worse off is that there are even agents who advertise this by writing on, you know, graffiti on the walls, making people to, you know, bringing out the information for people to apply, call certain numbers, promising them salaries, but what they get at the end of the day is meager salary.
Exploitation.
And exploitation, because girl childs are more than, you know, that about 80% more likely to be assaulted, or also, what's that word? To be assaulted, to be exploited, than the male counterpart, the male child. So I call this kind of people because, one, they might deprive them of quality food, shelter, clothing, and also they exploit them sexually. They abuse them. Some even treat them badly. Some even vent their anger on them. They turn them to...
Their frustration.
You understand? And some, I call them sadomasochists, in the sense that when they exploit them sexually, it's a pain to the girl child, and they enjoy it. They take pleasure in inflicting pain on the girl child. So I feel it's all about the government. That's where we're going to land, and the government agencies like NAPTIP, we've got the Child Rights Act, you know, which sets the age employment to 18. Labor Act is 12. So there is need to harmonize. NAPTIP also, you don't employ anyone who is lower than the age of 12 or 15 or thereabout. So I think that there's a need to harmonize this to ensure enforceability, and to make sure community involvement too is very important, because the government agencies may not be able to, you know, see what is happening in people's houses, but people within the community can raise the alarm. They should also report some of these things when they see. We've seen people who maltreated these children. There was one report that we did of a woman who used iron to torture
the domestic staff.
Domestic staff. We even call them domestic staff. The maid, right? So it's a sorry state for people who are not aware, because at the end of the day, they will be deprived of education deprivation, physical and emotional exploitation, health risks, and stunted development. And they will also grow up to, rearing children because they don't have quality training. And that's why we're having, the effect happening over and over again.
Yes, that was why I said that we need to deal with the matter of poverty. Because a parent who is able to take care of their child will not release their children to treatments like this.
That's right.
They are only looking for how to better the lot of their children and their generation.
That's right.
Because if, like you mentioned, if I was deprived, my children shouldn't be deprived. But then we need to begin to look at advocacy and educating people to understand that at this age, whatever it is you have, you can, whatever resources you have, you can still nurture your child to a particular level. Because these are the risks your child could face if you release him or her at a particular age. Some take them as low as 10, 10 years of age, 12, just because they promise to nurture these children. Then they become emotionally damaged at the end of the day when they are not properly taken care of. Yes, there are also people who actually do what is needful with this.
Not all of them, yeah. Some even send them on,
Yeah, some send them to school. Yeah. And instead of paying salaries, they use those monies to send the children to school and then send some monies to the parents of these children.
More like
adopting the children as theirs at the end of the day.
That's right.
But so we need to do better as a people, but then we need to educate people on the need to take care of their children with, no matter how little your resources are. You are in the rural area, there are farmlands and all of it. You don't need as much when, like those in the city.
Right.
The little resources you have, take care of your child. There's a possibility. Yeah. I'm heading somewhere. I just wanted to also touch on the fact that it is not just the girl child that can be exploited, even the male child can be exploited.
Can be sodomized by pervert
absolutely. So what are we doing at the end of the day? We say we want to protect the girl child, and we are not seeing enforcement of these laws to the level that can curb what we have witnessed over the years with regards to this underage employment of domestic staff. Yes, we know that the community is supposed to get involved, but sometimes people tell you, mind your business. What do you do?
My own too. I have much more for me.
People want to mind their business. Initially, we used to have this communal lifestyle.
You see something, you say something. It's very, very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not only you being able to cater to your children, to your wards. It's also very important that you give birth to what you can cater for. Right.
No, that's you are going to step on some sensitive areas because people will tell you it is God that takes care of the children.
That's right. But God takes care of the children.
But He gave you wisdom.
That's the thing. So Yoruba will say something. They will say "Omo bere, oshi bere," like many children, much poverty. Right. So and it's very, very. Back in the day, they wreck kids, as many as they can. Because they've got farmlands, they've got property that they will need to develop, on the farmlands and all of that.
And they use them to work in this farmland.
But the reality now is that how many lands do we have? How many people go to the farm these days? How many people are even willing to take care of their children? Because even you yourself, the parents, you're living from hand to mouth. So it's something that we need to, in a social re-engineering, we need to talk to people. Educate them so
advocacy.
That they change their habit in terms of how do we rear family, how do we
raise them, how do we train them.
That's the thing. So a lot of people too indiscriminate sexual activities, relations, where you just give birth when you are not even ready. People just fall in love and they say, I love you and all of this. The next thing, they produce offspring and they are not being able to, they are not able to
be responsible.
Cater to the kids. So it's something that is quite fundamental, and there's a lot that's needed to be done to address this.
Absolutely. It's a collective effort to addressing this because at the end of the day, if you see something and you turn your eyes away, it will come back to haunt you.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, because this person is part of the society.
Right.
If you do not speak up, it will come back to you.
Grow up, become something else.
It's a circle.
Yeah.
It may come back either directly to you or indirectly to someone that is close to you. So it is high time we begin to understand And when you see these things, especially when people employ people who are underage,
That's right.
you monitor what is going on. If they are not properly taken care of, you understand what it means by being properly taken care of. You look at the situation between the person's child and the domestic staff. If there is a disparity, then you raise the alarm. I believe that NAPTIV has offices across all the states where cases like this can be reported. And so people should begin to look around them, what is going on. The case that you mentioned earlier of the lady and her husband that was maltreating their domestic staff who was underage was reported by someone who was living in that community. And there are several cases.
But the abuse had been going on long
for
before.
Quite a while. Perhaps
and
they
it
did
got to
not
a head.
know how they would go about it. Another case happened where a guy realized that this child was locked up without food or water, and he reported the case. So it may take some people quite a while to be able to report these cases, but then the fact that it was reported is a good step in the first place. But as soon as you notice something, please make that complaint. And those who find interest in, employing these underage persons, if you know you cannot take care of them, leave them alone for their parents. Let their parents use the meager resources they have to train their children.
That's right.
Another reason is because some persons feel that they cannot manage some older persons as domestic staff. We have seen cases where the older persons have killed their employers, poisoned their employers,
Kidnap their children.
Carried out all sorts. So they are looking for persons they will manage. Now, I'm not playing the devil's advocate, but I'm just saying these are some of the reasons that people feel, okay, let me get someone I can manage, oversee, whatever.
But I think there has to be documentation, regarding that. Whether you're employing an old person or you're employing a younger person, there has to be a memorandum of understanding between the family, the employer, the employee, even if there is a middleman, the agent. And this has to be well documented. In case there is a problem, in case any problem arises in the future, then you'll be able to trace whoever the person is, and you'll be able to also monitor who is the employer and even the parents. All of this so that agreement is agreement, it is not breached. You understand? So
how far have such agreements gone? Because in the case of, recently we saw stories of where a domestic staff killed the employer, both the husband and wife, because of the monies they felt they saw in the house. The deed had been done.
It's a whole lot of...
If there was an agreement, how will that change what has been done? It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, so if proper channel has been, they go through the proper channel, I know that if government is involved, proper registration, there has to be psychologists who also have one-on-one with the prospective employee to be able to understand the person's mind, know what the person might be capable. I feel if we do the right thing, at the end of the day, it will reduce to bare minimum the effect that this might cause, which will definitely be negative. And
then we must address the matter of poverty. The government has said that, well, when the president was speaking with the ministers recently, he said every action they take, the lives of 200 million Nigerians rests on their hands. And they're looking at addressing the matter of poverty. We have mentioned several times here, 133 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty, how the government is going to address that. That will be a major step to take to addressing cases like that, because if we are able to address this at the root, I believe every other thing will fall into place. Correct. All right.